A soft approach to deep focus is the flow state. Sometimes I find myself easily distracted while I'm studying. Once I lose interest, focusing becomes a chore. I squint my eyes and my shoulders tense up, but that only worsens the problem. I feel more anxious and worried. I wonder, what if I can't get my work done on time? I noticed that if I try to desperately grab onto focus, it slips through my fingers like a wet bar of soap. But focus occurs naturally when the mind is interested. When I'm interested in a conversation, I listen. When I'm playing a video game, I play. I simply focus. I become completely immersed. Well, focus and flow are closely intertwined. These are the times when I can just melt into what I'm working on and go on for hours. I call it being in the zone. Others call it the flow state. But we all know what it means. Time flies and everything clicks, almost like a freeze frame effect. Distractions and background noise blur out, and it illuminates everything that is relevant. It's popular for a reason. Productivity surges and work gets done, but primarily because of the experience of what it does and how it feels. So, how can we enter this sometimes elusive brain state? Studying it is one thing, experiencing it is another. Focus isn't like a flashlight that you can simply switch on and off. It requires preparation. Just like exercise when you warm up before a workout. For some people, this might mean putting on noise-canceling headphones when they dive into a project. For others, it'll be a certain time of day. I personally feel the most productive early in the morning. I make myself a warm cup of coffee, and I finally sit down to get work done. By finding the right conditions, that's where the flow state unfolds. Of course, the human brain loves a challenge, but only if it is within an optimal zone of difficulty. In astronomy, they call this the Goldilocks zone, which is the area around a star for the surface temperature to be neither too hot nor too cold, but just right for there to be liquid water, which is essential to support life. In more benign terms, we need our challenges to be at that sweet spot. To achieve flow state, there needs to be an alignment with our current skill set. Try to strive for activities that stimulate your abilities and motivate you to push out of your comfort zone. For studying, I often like to take practice tests online. This way, not only can I choose the level of difficulty of the test, but I can also measure my performance. StudyFetch and smartexam.io is a great site for this. It'll make study material out of your PDFs as well as flashcards and practice quizzes. Regardless of how it's measured, the human brain needs some way to visualize our progress. Practice won't mean perfect, but it does maintain progress. Focus is a muscle that can be trained. The more you consistently practice, the stronger the muscle becomes. But this really depends on how much time you need. The Pomodoro technique, which is a method of studying for 25 minutes and taking a 5-minute break. This is very common for students who thrive under short work bouts. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, suggests the ideal length of time for focused work is 90 minutes or less. I found that 90 minutes works pretty well for me, but it does take some training. I would add more time slowly, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and I got used to it gradually. It does take some experimenting to find your limits and slowly increase the time from there. Everyone starts at a different point. That's completely normal. When I would work 12-hour shifts, I would come home, eat, shower, and it would be so difficult to find some time to get some studying done, or any work at all for that matter. But I made a promise to myself. I had to complete 1 hour of quality work, and then I could go to sleep and pass out. But this helped me tremendously, because in the past I would force myself to stay up and pull an all-nighter when that really wasn't necessary. That hour of genuine focused work is way more productive than any 4 to 6 hours of unfocused, mediocre work. With time, it takes less and less friction. Each practice session presents an opportunity for improvement and growth. You're learning as you go, from the setbacks, failures, and your wins. But relying on consistency won't always lead to breakthroughs. There's an automatic give and take of energy in every activity. For example, when you're brushing your teeth, the minty freshness offers instant gratification, creating an immediate feedback loop. The end goal in the feedback loop is ultimately the rewards. It's the positive reinforcement that keeps you in flow. Collaborative workflows build on this momentum because you have constant live engagement. The shared dialogue, constructive criticism, and shared achievements create a rhythm for growth. Working from home, it's still possible to get live feedback with online resources. Slack and Discord is really helpful with this. It's painful when I'm by myself and I'm trying to connect ideas and I just forget the term or formula I need. It's frustrating when I encounter these blocks that are easily solvable. I forget about the assistance centers, labs, TAs, and tutors available on campus. It's important to remember to always utilize these resources. The Socratic method is a popular way of exploring complex ideas by asking a series of questions to help people think more deeply about their beliefs and to uncover contradictions in their thoughts. As you question and respond to new ideas, the feedback you receive helps refine your views and opinions. The discussion goes back and forth, blending in difficulty, uncertainty, and curiosity to elicit another key component of the flow state. Novelty, which is defined as the quality of being new, original, or unusual. There has to be room for unique ideas, new methods, and experimentation. Because I know the moment I feel bored, I'll shift my attention elsewhere. According to sociologist Roger Kalau, there are 4 types of play. One crucial concept is alea, the Latin term for the game of dice. The psychology behind alea involves embracing the uncertainty and unpredictability inherent in activities that depend on chance, particularly in games. By evoking uncertainty, alea taps into the brain's enjoyment of unpredictability, which makes it a more satisfying experience. It's this connection that motivates us to return again and again, which can be applied to our work and learning, like switching between subjects, going from writing to math, studying in different places, working in a different room, cafe, or change the order of things you're working on, like using different methods of studying. These are little ways to incorporate a bit of randomness to repetitive work blocks. Also, adopting tools that streamline your work can create space for novelty. If you're a writer, use Grammarly. If you're a video editor, place keys. If you're a developer, install developer tools. Make it as easy as you can, more efficient and quicker, so you can focus on discovering new solutions and creating new ideas. However, there are certain rewards to avoid, like fast food, online shopping, or social media. Maybe it's just me getting older, but it's really the little simple moments that are the most rewarding, like taking a walk outside for some fresh air or getting some cleaning done. Andrew Huberman emphasizes deliberate decompression. He says after a bout of focus, take at least 10 minutes, ideally as long as 30 minutes, and go through deliberate defocus. You really want to focus on somewhat menial tasks or things that really don't require a ton of your concentration. He suggests to try not to bring your vision into a tight location, like reading or using your phone. In the end, the concept of alea extends beyond finding novelty. It's also derived from your willingness to the game. Your autonomy refers to your willingness. First, how much effort and time are you willing to invest in a project? Your commitment directly influences the depth and quality of your work. Second, how much you care for the project you're working on. Our focus needs to be aligned with a purpose greater than ourselves, a purpose that speaks to who you are at your core. Focus thrives when you're genuinely interested. If you want to love working on a project, your mind must reflect that. It can't be some idea or trend that's popular. It has to truly resonate with who you are. This is where flow comes in. Flow is often described as an autotelic experience, where the activity is intrinsically motivating. In the process, we lose our sense of self-consciousness, with all your focus poured into the task. You don't hear inner voices about the past, the future, or self-scrutiny. Taoism emphasizes this with Wu Wei, which is a Chinese concept of non-doing. Instead of simply doing the act, one becomes it. Bruce Lee, who is widely regarded as one of the greatest martial artists, is known for his speed and fluidity of movement. He is famously quoted saying,
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Like that, is it?
I've realized the most disruptive interruptions are internal, conflicting motivations and self-doubt. Instead of relying on external factors, it's my intrinsic motivators that are entirely dependent on myself. It isn't so much what happens around me or to me, but my reaction to those events that causes my stress. The first step is to make space for reflection and awareness. What really helps me with this is meditation and prayer. A short prayer before lunch or whenever I need a moment of peace can really make a difference. Meditation is the same way. It doesn't have to be anything special. Just a few minutes of sitting quietly and focusing on my breathing is all I need. At least for me, it's some extra me time where I can relax and reset. It's like that saying, go with the flow. As a result, work itself becomes more rewarding.